everybody, thank you for buying one of our package deals of our tasting fights. In the next couple minutes I'm going to go through some tasting notes and how we taste them, what we pull out of them. But at first, what we always like to do in our tasting room is give you kind of a background as to how we started the process. We feel like it's a really important thing for everybody to know, and we're all pretty in love with 291 with this story. So 291 has been a distillery now for about 8 years altogether in the Colorado Springs area. We are probably one of the longest running ones in Colorado Springs. The owner is a man named Michael Myers. As many of you guys know, he's not Austin Powers or the serial killer, even though his name is Jason Michael Myers. It would be really funny, but at least he's always got a good costume for Halloween. Michael was a fashion beauty photographer in New York City for a long time, so he shot for Allure magazine, Vanity Fair, Estee Lauder. We have a Sam Elliott photo in the tasting room that's about 20 to 30 years old, and if you ever watch us on the ranch, you can definitely see from season 1 2, Sam Elliott and Ashton Kutcher and everybody are always drinking 291 whiskey. You'll see us on a couple different shows too, so let us know if you guys have seen us yet. In 2001, Michael lived about 3 blocks away from the World Trade Center with his 2 boys who were under the age of 5 and his wife. They lived about on the 34th floor of their building, so pretty close, probably a beautiful view at that time. But on 9/11, Michael had to walk his boy to school when the first plane crashed into the building. Obviously, that's a very traumatic time for us as a nation, and I'm pretty sure it was hard for him and his boys to see that. Fortunately, everybody was safe and was able to get out of that area. The only bad thing is that they just were not able to go back to their apartment at that time. So they were looking for a different place to go, and his in-laws lived in the Colorado Springs area, and they decided that this was going to be a good place for them to kind of like reset. The only bad part about that is that Michael was not able to do fashion beauty photography in the Colorado Springs area. If you've never visited Colorado Springs, it's very different than New York City. So Michael's life for a long time was getting on a plane Monday morning, flying out to New York, doing a bunch of photo shoots, coming back Friday night, and then hanging out with his kids for a couple days, and then doing it all over again. He did that for quite a few years. And I know I've flown to New York City. It's pretty tiring, and I can only imagine doing that weekly. Seems like a lot. Michael felt like it was just really wearing on his time and his health and being with his family. He loves his boys. He feels like that is his life. If there was one last day, he would definitely want to spend it with his boys no matter where it was at. So Michael was kind of looking for a different career path to keep him kind of closer to his family. And he was flying back from a Vanity Fair shoot when he read an article in the New York Times about Hendrick's Gin and Sailor Jerry Rum, and how the owner of those 2 spirits actually had nothing to do with alcohol prior to that, which is crazy because you see Hendrick's Gin and Sailor Jerry Rum everywhere. Sorry about that, guys. So the article was basically talking about his life and how he did marketing for a magazine prior to even creating those 2 spirits. And when Michael read that, he was like, this is awesome. This guy and I pretty much have very similar lifestyles, and it's awesome that he just quit his job and decided to do something completely different. And that kind of stuck with Michael. It kind of lit a little light bulb off. So for a while, Michael thought that he would love to brand a whiskey, and eventually somebody asked him, why don't you just make your own? And that kind of stuck with Michael. Being raised in southern Georgia, I'm sure he saw a bunch of people moonshining and making whiskey in the backwoods of that area. At this point, I think that whiskey is definitely running in Michael's blood. I don't know if he has a real blood type or a whiskey blood type, but it kind of stuck with him, and he decided that that was going to be his next move. So it took him a little bit longer to quit his international photography business, but he did, and he decided that Colorado Springs was going to be the area to start his new distillery. You've got to do a couple different things in order to start that. The first thing is that you've got to have a location. So right now what we're in is about 7,500 square feet. Our tasting room is about the size of what Michael started with, so about 339 square feet altogether. So very, very tiny. It was in a basement room of a building that's pretty much next door to us over here. Our location, the next thing to do was get your DSP, so a distillery license. That usually takes about 8 months altogether. Michael did it in about a quarter of the time, so about 6 weeks altogether. He always jokes and says that if he did not make any good whiskey, at least he could fill out some paperwork for people who do, which is always great because either way you're drinking whiskey. The third thing, and the coolest thing that we've got, is that you have to have equipment. Michael looked at a brand new still, realized that it was going to be about $50,000 for a brand new still, which is really unrealistic to him at that time. I don't know anybody else who would really be able to do that. And being that he's never homebrewed before in his life, that's a pretty big jump. So he looked into building his own. Realized that all you really need were copper plates and somebody to weld them together. And Michael's photography career actually kind of helped him out moving forward on our 291 career path. He did a whole art show around something called photogravure. So photogravure is taking a copper plate, getting an image engraved into it, and then getting a couple prints out of it. These images behind me are actually from Michael's photogravure art show, which is such a beautiful thing. It was basically a story describing his life. So because he had those copper plates lying around, he got them sent over from New York, and him and his friend decided to measure them out, weld them together, and turn them into our first still. I know that you guys aren't here right now, but if you were to come into our distillery, we would show you that the new still, or the still that we are using, our very first still, has some amazing engraving still on it, which is really, really beautiful. It's made up of about 6 or 7 pieces altogether, which is such a beautiful thing. I think that's why our whiskey is really, really good, because everything has touched that still from day one. It's got a lot of love and passion from his past life and bringing it over into his future. But Michael pretty much had everything lined up and decided that he needed to kind of create his own little mash bill. His favorite rye is Tom's Handy, so he was very, very inspired by that type. He wanted to do a very stand-up cowboy whiskey, very westernized, very bold, beautiful, much like Colorado. So because of that, he made his own mash bill, practiced a few runs, released his first clear out of the still on 9/11 in 2011. He had taken it to a distillery event, and there was a couple people there who were able to try it. They were like, "This is amazing. You need to start aging it and bottling it now." So Michael obviously has done something right and created this beautiful spirit. So he had to definitely create a name for his brand. And 291 was kind of a number that popped up pretty often for him. So when he was studying photography in school, he read an article about the first art gallery in the world to take photography as a high-end art. And that was Art Gallery 291 on Avenue 291 in New York City. But when he was reading the art gallery interview, or I should say research paper, he was living in dorm room 291, so it was a number that was very, very important for him at that time, and ever since then we've pretty much always noticed 291 popping up. That's a really cool, inspirational thing, and he feels like that means a lot to him. He also says that, being in a dark room and taking pretty much a raw image and turning it into a beautiful print is very, very, very similar to being in a distillery and taking raw grains and turning it into a beautiful spirit. The only positive thing now is that you can drink it, which is always really fun. So since then, Michael has been pretty successful in where we're at. We've won World's Best Rye in 2018. This year we won America's Best New Make with our White Dog, which is our unaged rye. Pretty much all of our bottles have won an award. We've won a couple different awards as a distillery. We have bumped up now to about a team of 14, which doesn't seem like a lot, but Michael started by himself or with a couple different friends after a while. His first employee was hired 3 years after. So since then, we've just kind of been up and running, and we're able to try about 8 different spirits on your guys' flagship, which is really awesome. Being that we've only been running for about 8 years, that's an amazing thing. All the awards we won for an 8-year thing, that's pretty impressive. So I really hope that you guys enjoy 291 as much as we do as our family, and I really hope that you guys know that once you drink 291, you're family. So I know that you're in the crew now. I hope that you guys enjoy this. Let us know if you need anything else, okay? All right. Hey there, 291 family. Thanks for stopping by our virtual tasting room. Pretty crazy, but it's a lot of fun. We are going to go through our first mash bill. That is going to be our 291 Bourbon mash bill package. We are doing a mash bill of 80% corn, 19% malted rye, 1% malted barley. If we're going to start getting through this, we're going to go through about 4 of our actual bourbon mash bills, okay? The very first one that you guys are going to try is going to be one that we like to call our cocktail spirit. This is going to be the fresh. Our fresh is a completely unaged one, doesn't see a barrel, comes straight off the still and cuts with water, is brought down to about 90 proof. So it's meant to replace tequila, vodka, or gin in a cocktail. I get a lot of people asking, I've never seen an unaged whiskey, and you know, these guys, if you have never seen them or tried them, this is the perfect start. It's amazing. So that first one is going to be a little bit more of those peppery notes. You can see that it's clear, so fresh as the Colorado snow, as it says on our label. When Michael started, he couldn't really rush that aging process. So what he really wanted to do was teach people how to cocktail with an unaged spirit. You guys want to try this out? Let me know what you think about it on some comments. That'd be awesome. So now we're going to move on to our American. Our American is kind of like an ode to an Irish or a Scottish whiskey. It's aged for 7 months in a used barrel. So basically we'll take those bourbon barrels that we've aged some of our bourbon in, start putting our American in there, and let it sit for about 7 months. Our American and our fresh get an aspen charcoal mellowing, which basically means we'll lay out some aspen charcoal, start filtering that spirit through there, and it'll kind of pull out those impurities. The American is a really good summertime sipping whiskey if you want to sit on your porch with your friends and drink some sweet tea with the American thrown in it. I don't blame you. It's going to be more of that fruit and florally front half with a little bit more of those leather back halves. It's cut with water and brought down to 90 proof, so I hope that you guys enjoy this one on a summertime. We'll go ahead and try that one now. Awesome. Now we're going to move on to our actual bourbons. These two are going to be aged for just about a year in 10-gallon virgin white American oak barrels. We do a heavy level char on the inside, so about a level 4, which is what they call an alligator skin. We also do a 3-week Aspen Stave Finish. A lot of the questions that I get is, what is an Aspen Stave? An Aspen Stave is basically this little guy. We char it in the back with aspen charcoal pretty heavily, throw it into the bourbon for the last 3 weeks, and it kind of gives you a different finishing note. We want to be a Colorado whiskey, so what's more Colorado than an aspen tree? The first one is going to be that small batch. So it's cut with water and brought down to 100 proof. With that aspen charcoal mellowing, or aspen charcoal finish I should say, you're going to get a little bit more of that minty kind of green front half with a lot of those baking spices picked up on the back half. This small batch is going to be your traditional vanilla, caramel kind of smells, really nice, really sweet, but not overly sweet. Alright, so our next one, and the favorites of all the lineups for me, is always going to be our barrel proof. Our barrel proof is going to be aged for just about a year in those 10-gallon barrels with that 3-week Aspen Stave Finish. It's going to be not cut with water, so the difference between that small batch and this barrel proof is that this guy is a little bit more extreme. It's really, really good. You're getting a lot of that flavor profile out of it. We tend to pull more of that Creme Brûlée, Banana Foster's kind of smell. The awesome thing about our lineups that we do is that you can see the color and kind of what a barrel does, the spirit and the color as well. We get into those like deep, rich, beautiful colors when we start with that really, really clear one. It's an amazing process. I hope that you guys really enjoy this barrel proof one. It is going to take you a little bit longer to drink. I hope that you just sit with some friends, have some conversations, and enjoy it. So your last one of this bourbon package is going to be the Decc. The Decc is very, very different than the rest of ours, but we love it just as much. It's kind of like our redheaded stepsister. This guy has a funny story behind it, so I'll tell you guys a little story about it. We go to a lot of distillery events, and one of them is up in Breckenridge called Still on the Hill. If you've never been, you should check it out. But basically what you do there is you have all of your spirits, people get a test try them, and you also make a cocktail. The year that Michael was going, he was going to serve what we like to make, a whiskerita. So our version of a margarita with our fresh. It's really light, it's really refreshing, it's perfect on a warm day. But Michael woke up the day of the event and there was snow on the ground. And I don't know if anybody wants to drink a slushy drink on a slushy day. So he decided that he was going to scratch that idea. Drove around and was trying to relate some kind of flavor profile to a memory or just snow in general. Wound up at the grocery store, picked up some citrus, some clove, and a couple different spices. Went back to his hotel room, grabbed his Mr. Coffee pot, and started processing everything through his Mr. Coffee pot. You know, that's an amazing thing. We're very fortunate that we've upgraded because we don't have 5,000 Mr. Coffee pots back there anymore, but we started with that. Michael took it to the event and we won People's Choice that year, so naturally we had to bottle it. So he had to kind of create his own little name for it. And the first time Michael drank it, he was like, this is so good, you can drink it on the deck, but if you drink too much, you hit the deck. Typically liqueurs are going to be at 40 proof and this guy's at 70. So it's a little bit more extreme, but it's like Christmas in a cup. You can heat it up, cook it in a wassail, put it over hot toddy. You can bake with it. You can substitute your simple syrup in an old fashioned for this guy. It's pretty versatile, and it's probably one of my favorite liqueurs that we have. So if you guys want to enjoy that one. Alright guys, so we are all done with our flights. I hope that you guys really enjoyed them and you had such a good time. I know I always do every time I do a flight. I would love for you guys to come in and check us out if you're in the Colorado Springs area. Buy some bottles from us at this point. Once we're up and running, come do a tasting flight with me. But if you are not in the Colorado Springs area, check out Reserve Bar or your local liquor stores. 291 is in as many places as we can get into at this point. If you are from out of state, check our website. You can find the local liquor store that's closest to you that has us. If you guys would, I really hope that you guys enjoyed our flights. I think that I would love to hear from you and know which one your favorite is. We love interacting with the people who are 291 fans. We always say once you drink 291, you're family at this point. So connect with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you think. We're always here for you. I know this time's a little bit harder and we're really trying to make everything happy. Please hashtag 291 family. Hashtag your quarantine cocktails if you got any cocktails going on. Send us pictures, anything and everything that you want to do. We're here for you. Hopefully we see you soon. Bye.